It was a long time coming, but for many Sly Cooper fans, the wait for the fourth installment was as horrible as licking Murray's fat belly.
But finally, Sly 4 has arrived, this time developed by SANZARU Games, whose track record includes Ninja Reflex and Mystery Case Files, the Magalgarinsud.
Will a new developer and a new system help Sly succeed?
Let's sneak in
and find out.
Let me find my storybook.
Taking place after an unspecified amount of time from Sly 3, Thieves in Time follows the Koopa gang as they travel through time.
You see, pages of the Famous Raccoonus are mysteriously disappearing, and Bentley suspects that someone is messing up the history of the Cooper clan.
The plot is certainly entertaining, accompanied by beautiful 2D animated cutscenes, and the characters are as endearing as ever, but the plot definitely feels a tad flossy.
The more streamlined, sophisticated writing contained in the previous games feels lost, in favor of a more goofy antics.
In fact, there's so many angles to the plot that SANZARU Games sometimes get confused in their own plotting, and the more one analyzes the plot, the more things either seem underdeveloped or don't make sense.
Despite some issues, Thieves in Time's story is still very enjoyable, filled with plenty of great characters and moments.
Like a bouncy castle.
Gameplay on the home front.
On the home front, Thieves in Time is very familiar to previous games in the series, which is definitely a good thing. Each level consists of a large open world, which divides off into smaller platforming environments.
Much like Sly 3, the game consists of multiple playable characters, including the main trio, Sly's ancestors, and Inspector Cumleater Fox.
Sly is still undoubtedly the most fun to play, his jumps and climbing offering very enjoyable platforming challenges. Of course, Sly has some new skills on offer in the form of alternate costumes. Each costume offers their own new feature, whether it's being able to deflect projectiles or shoot arrows, and most of them are fun to utilize.
Except, of course, the prehistoric costume, which is slow, clunky, and downright dull. How does that costume even work?
Yeah, it must be a placebo effect. If you don't know what that is, here's the definition coming on screen right now. Bentley is probably more fun to play this time around, with a greater sense of speed, but he isn't utilized very often and is mostly reduced to hacking. Speaking of sandals, hacking now works beyond the standard top-down shooting segments, but also includes side-scrolling shooting and tilting a ball into a hole, both of which offers a welcome change of pace.
Unfortunately, Murray has been messed around, and now he isn't that much fun to play, especially in combat. By removing the uppercut, Murray becomes an awkward case of smashing the square button and charging up a spin attack. Thankfully, his combat is interrupted by some simple platforming or dancing, which prevents his levels from becoming a bore.
We then come to Sly's ancestors, and since most of them play like Sly, they are heartily fun to use. Even when they are nicking ideas from other games, a la Red Dead Redemption, they still offer enjoyable platforming experiences. Finally, there's Cumleater Fox. When she is playable, she's fun to use. Unfortunately, she is so underused in this game that she doesn't leave much of a lasting impression, sort of like an out-of-date Listerine.
All of these core characters are topped off with minigames that enliven the game, and overall make it an enjoyable, often unpredictable experience. One minute you could be slapping a penguin, the next you're balancing an egg on a log.
The real weakness arises, however, when you put it in the context of being a thief. In Sly 2, the game's missions made you feel like a cunning thief, but in Thieves in Time, you sometimes feel like you're just platforming for the sake of it. The final level operations are especially disappointing, as most of them consist of brief platforming before a boss fight, the ingenuity of previous games being lost.
Not that the bosses are bad, in fact, they are actually good fun. Except the final boss, which is utter garbage, and requires no real skill. I mean, it's a bloomin' quick time event. All in all, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time is huge fun to play, reminding us that the core gameplay is still as fun as filling a balloon with water and popping it.
Let's get on with the controls here.
For the most part, the controls for Sly are smooth, fluid, and responsive. I keep using the same words.
There are times when Sly latches onto undecided objects, but these situations are minimal and don't break the game. Sly also feels very floaty, which enables you to escape falls to your doom by just jumping backwards, like in The Matrix.
Shooting characters also have fast reticules, so targeting and blasting enemies is very enjoyable. Finally, while Mori controls well, his slow-paced gameplay juxtaposes the rest of the characters, making him not much fun to play. Seriously, I never thought an uppercut could be so important.
That is ball move!
Whoa. I'm a hammer. The remote river.
The music is definitely a highlight of the game, and while it feels more upbeat than previous entries, it still brings across the correct Thief atmosphere.
Each of the game's 5 worlds also generate the right mood and tone, with the western one definitely offering a very nostalgic vibe.
Finally, the game is topped off with some splendid voice acting, which helps give the characters a real sense of, well, character. New voice actors of the series like Steve Bloom and Nolan North fit in perfectly with the old hams such as Kevin Miller and Matt Olson, creating a terrific animated series vibe.
Especially Steve Bloom, who sounds like a real authentic Japanese guy. Steve Bloom. I think you should shut up about the graphics.
Thieves in Time is hardly pushing the limits of the PS3's power, but that's not really important, as Sly's cel-shaded visuals are still appealing.
Character models are nicely crafted and also beautifully animated. I mean, check out Bentley's enthusiasm. It's amazing. The game worlds also look great from a distance, but the closer you get, the more you find textures belonging to the PlayStation 2.
On top of this, the game sometimes suffers from an inconsistent frame rate, mostly prominent in the hub areas where too many enemies populate the screen. Oh sorry, that's when, not where.
No doubt crossplay for the Vita subtract the visuals somewhat, but Sly looks pretty good, unlike PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
Which looks like a PS2 game with a HD sheen.
Hey, you forgot to mention the beautiful... The main adventure in Thieves in Time will take a solid snake 12 hours to finish. And besides that, there are numerous models, treasures, masks, and of course trophies to collect.
It's hard to bemoan at the game's length, considering Sly 2 did the same thing, but the mission challenges from Sly 3 are absent, which is slightly disappointing. Still, there's enough content to keep you busy, the game working as a starter before the main course, which will no doubt be a 70-hour RPG epic like Final Fantasy VII or Tales of Symphonia.
It also contains cameos like Clank, Daxter, and Krotos.
Overall, 23 out of 30.
It's hard not to like Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, as you can tell it was lovingly made by a group of hardcore fans. At the same time, it's hard not to feel that SANZARU Games has messed up the series, with the time travel concept opening up tons of holes, and an old character's betrayal feeling really out of character.
At the end of the day though, Thieves in Time should please fans of Sly. And now that SANZARU Games has cleared up all the plot threads from the previous game, I can't wait to see where they go next. Sly, it's good to see you back!
Now employing our new Marcus Beer rating system, is the game worth buying, renting, or binning? Telling up now.
Drum roll, please.
The game is worth...
Buy it.
There we go.